Hello, everyone, and inside today's Locked On Canadiens, we're going to talk about trading for Patrik Laine again.
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1090 of Locked On Canadiens, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day of the week. And today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Hockey GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your own hockey franchise, well, now you can with Ultimate Hockey GM. It's completely free, and Locked On listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. To download the game today, just visit hockeygm.app or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM, start your dynasty today. I am one of your hosts. I am Scott Matla. I am not joined by my co-host. She is currently on vacation, living her absolute best life, and I love that for her. She will be back in about a week or so, 2 weeks or so. Anyways, normally this is an episode you're going to hear Friday morning. It would normally be the mailbag. I had to miss the Wednesday for Thursday episode due to some things that came up around the house. My apologies for that. We will make that up to you as we get closer to the draft with a bonus episode or something in there. However, there's still plenty to talk about in here. And the biggest thing that has come up in the news that it broke, I believe, yesterday afternoon, in that the Columbus Blue Jackets and Patrik Laine are looking to make a mutual split via trade here. Obviously, they're not going to terminate his contract because that would be insane to get nothing for that. The player would like a fresh start. And admittedly, things for Laine in Columbus have probably not gone the way that he had hoped in that trade there. Laura and I have talked about this a little bit. He's had some good years with the Winnipeg Jets, where he was then traded to Columbus. Maybe not the best, but not on, and Jay, I say this respectfully, teams that weren't very good overall, and with coaches that I do not think know or knew how to utilize what his skill set was, which is feed him puck, let him shoot, don't ask him to play defense. 36 goals, 44 goals, 30 goals, 28 goals, 12 goals, 26 goals, 22 goals, and then 6 goals this past year in 18 games. He then left to take part in the NHL Player Assistance Program due to some mental health things, which understandable. Wish him the best with the recovery that has gone along with that. And it seems like he is getting ready to kind of get back into the game here. And it seems like the fit is not there with Columbus. And as I kind of look at the roster, it's a lot of, I don't know what to make of this. There is some older dudes on the roster, which it feels weird to say that Johnny Gaudreau is a 30-year-old guy on this roster. Boone Jenner, Sean Corrali, Matthew Olivier, Justin Danforth, who is 31. And then immediately a bunch of young guys. It's Gavin Brindley, Adam Fantilli, Dmitry Voronkov, Igor Chinnikov, Cole Sillinger, Alexander Texier. In the defense, they're a team that's kind of in flux. Kent Johnson was on IR most of this season. He is RFA this offseason. And then a lot of younger guys who are coming in from the AHL and some of the other drafts where they've had a lot of quality picks in the draft here. And I'm not quite sure where Laine fits into this group here. And it's gone back and forth that the value there for a player who it is now known that it is public that he and the team are working to find a new solution to this is taking the value out of the base floor out of that. It's like pulling the rug out from something. Maybe not the right definition, but I think a lot of you understand what I'm trying to get at with that is teams know that he wants to move and they know that the team wants to move on from him. This is not Kent Hughes calling up Don Riddell and going, hey, see, you got Patrik Laine. We would like Patrik Laine. What are you looking for? And they can name high-end piece in that. This is a player who hasn't been able to hit the same peaks that he did a few years ago and has kind of struggled with some things in his game, and obviously things that happened off the ice, teams will unfairly look at that as a potential negative, which I think is unfair to hold against the player, that you should always seek help if it is available to you in any way, shape, or form. To get down to the nitty gritty here, Patrik Laine, 2 years left at $8.7 million per year, 26 years old. They tried to have him play as a center. If the Canadiens are acquiring him, I don't hope that is not the case for that. Can play on either wing. Unfortunately, in a draft class with Austin Matthews, who also has an incredibly lethal shot and a variety with it, watching Patrik Laine shoot the puck is a treat when he is on, because he vaporizes pucks. As Patrick Bexell nicknamed him, the Punisher of pucks. He is disturbingly good at putting them through people onto the net there. He does not shoot to get around people. He puts it through people. And so at $8.7 million, the Canadiens currently, without LTI, without other pieces, have about $9.4 million of cap space, as I am looking at Cap Friendly right now. I believe that I don't know if that includes cap space with LTI or candidates. So carry price is $10.5 million, 19.5 or 19.9, almost $20 million in LTIR. And assuming they move out one of the potential contracts here, they have the cap space to make this work. They don't have a ton of expensive UFAs coming up, or RFAs this season. The big one is going to be Arbor Jacki, who is RFA. Jesse Olonen, who has RFA arbitration rights, but guys like Juraj Slavkovsky become eligible for an extension after July 1st. And you may wonder if they're going to do that or not. Caulfield's contract is already factored in. The Suzuki's contract is factored into this. So those new contracts are factored in. So I was trying to figure out, what is a fair offer in a trade to Columbus? And as I'm looking at their defense, it's some guys. You have Zach Werenski, who is, the stalwart at their blue line there. You have Damian Severson, who I think is a perfectly cromulent second pairing defenseman. You have Ivan Provorov, who has 1 year left. You have Erica Branson signed for 2 more years at $4 million. Adam Boquist at 2.6. Jake Bean is RFA. Heading down to the AHL, you have Corson Kuhlman, you have David Jiricek, Denton Matejchuk, Samuel Kanazko. A lot of potential guys that they could add here. They have a lot of defensemen in the AHL, some of them who are just a journeyman at this point. So my thought was giving them, and I shouldn't say giving, making Jordan Harris one of the pieces in this. Someone who can play anywhere in their lineup, provides a little bit of stability on the penalty kill, can move the puck at 5-on-5. And I asked our friends at Locked On Blue Jackets, and they countered with adding Christian Dvorak as a guy, because they are in need of probably a veteran middle to bottom six center there, who is also probably in need of a change of scenery to go along with the young kids. And a second round pick was with some retention on their side, knowing that this is a player that is going to be going here. And whether that be the round 2 pick this year or next year, because the Habs have Colorado's this year, have Pittsburgh's and theirs next year, their own in 2026, a bunch of third round picks in 2025. They have the Devils one, which can be upgraded to a second round pick if Jake Allen plays 40 games and is a member of a playoff team. 2 this year with Minnesota's and their own. Was also, would you trade the Winnipeg pick, the 26th overall pick, for Patrik Laine? And my thought is, I look at that and I go, I want to hold on to that because I would like to use that. There are some good talents at the end of that first round, but is there a guarantee that one of those talents will be better than Patrik Laine is now, even coming off of some very rough seasons? And I can see Kent Hughes taking that 26th overall pick, roster player, maybe someone like Jesse Olonen, just to give them the opportunity to get a fresh start, somewhere that they're going to have more opportunities that befit their skill set, I would think, and make that trade happen. And retaining 25%, I think, is what Jay proposed on that, makes him about a $6 million player. And if you have Dvorak going the other way, you're not offsetting everything, but you're not eating up as much of that current cap space that you need to use to re-sign Jacky and actually add potentially some pieces to this defense this upcoming season, sign some AHL players, maybe on an NHL deal with that, because they got to be mindful of some of these guys coming up who are RFAs that maybe don't have our arbitration rights, but might be offer sheet eligible, and keep an eye on that. I'm in favor of it if the price makes sense, which I think if the ask is Dvorak or a late and either a second or a late first round pick, you take that if you're Kent Hughes. We want to hear, what do you think about Patrik Laine in Montreal? Do you think that this is something the Canadiens can need or do need? Somewhere in the top 6, maybe. I like the idea of power play weapon, a true shooter, but I'm always kind of unsure where do they fit in the style of play that this team is going for. We want to hear from you. Tweet us at LO_Canadiens, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. I want to move on from this a little bit. I will take some of your responses on Monday's show and see what your proposals are, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about where does he actually fit in this lineup. But we're going to get into that next week. But coming up now, it's time to start player reviews. And we're going to start with another big Finn, Joel Armia, and that's coming up next. But as I said off the top of the show, Locked On Canadiens fans, I want to take a moment to bring up one of our partners, the mobile game, Hockey Ultimate GM. If you've ever dreamed of running an NHL team as the GM and managing that franchise in whichever way you see fit, do you think you could run the Habs better than Kent Hughes right now? Well, your dream can come true now, and this game is most definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the seasons, lead them to glory, hire the right coaches and staff, trade players, draft picks, navigate free agency in the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. And as a Habs fan, you know there is no offseason. GMs are constantly making moves at every point of the year to improve their team's chances, and that's why I think you are going to love this game. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free and playable offline, so play on the go as you want and when you want to. And Locked On Network listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Just download the game or visit hockeygm.app. That's hockeygm.app, or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM, start your dynasty today. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. I am, of course, your host for today. I am Scott Matla. We're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to keep talking about Finnish players today, apparently. And then one Quebecois forward as well to end the show. I wanted to talk about this earlier in the week because I don't think I've seen someone who had such a drastic split in a season as Joel Armia did this year. And I say this as someone who is sometimes just bewildered by him, but there are other times that I watch him play and I go, how are you not just a superstar? There are times that I watch you go through things and you power through players. His preseason was so bad that he was sent to the AHL, where he put up 9 points in 8 games, all while very clearly being too good for the AHL. Very clearly being too good for the AHL. Came up to the NHL and then just looked in some games like he did not care, that he was not really part of this, that it didn't seem to click, and that he was kind of just drifting around there. And a lot like Juraj Slafkovsky, at one point, everything just kind of clicked and turned over. Like a car that's kind of stalling in like a horror movie when the villain's coming up and chasing them, and then it clicks into gear and they fly out of there. That was Joel Armia this season. Put up 17 goals and 8 assists in 66 games, which you may say, hey, that's not a lot. And you're correct. It's not a lot of points for a guy making $3.4 million. Again, he got paid on that contract thanks to his contributions getting into and in those NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. One of Marc Bergevin's parting gifts. And I watched the way that he performed this year. A very strong penalty killer. A pretty good 5-on-5 player once his game clicked into place there. And Habs fans have turned it into a meme, is that there's every couple of weeks for like a week and a half, Joel Armia turns into the most unstoppable player in the NHL. Only he did that a lot the second half of the season. I'm watching him battle through stick checks, carrying the puck in deep, just scoring goals with ease with his shot that sometimes it looks like he's taking forever, but it's a howitzer. It is not the quickest, it is not the fastest, but I forget which teammate said a few years ago, he's got the best shot on the team. And that was after Caulfield had joined the team, I believe. And I get it. When Armia's firing the puck and he's on, his shots are ridiculous. He picks corners with next to no effort. He could be getting hooked from behind and he just flicks it and he's just put it right in the corner of the net. And he's someone that feels like such an opportunity for a team wanting that. We talked a lot about how like Dakota Joshua and William Carrier and stuff are going to be free agents here. If teams don't have the opportunity to get to them, that we want to add a penalty killing forward who can chip in the odd goals and can play a strong two-way game. I know that Joel Armia does not always scream effort and everything for Canadiens fans, but I watch the way that he plays. When he's on, he's what you want in a power forward. Not the fleetest of foot guy, but he makes things happen. And when he is cycling it, you cannot get the puck off him. He will just hold it against 1, 2, 3 people against the boards and still come out of that scrum with the puck and move it somewhere else. We've seen shifts where he is just circling the zone and teams are just chasing him, trying to get it back, and they never do. We know that's what Joel Armia can be. Absolutely, we know that's what he can be. We've seen in the past with the Canadiens, he's put up 13 goals, 16 goals, 7 goals, 6 goals, 7 goals, 17 goals. And admittedly, some of those teams were not great teams. And then in the playoffs, 5 points in 10 games, 8 points in 21 games while playing like a fourth line role there. He is ideally one of your best bottom 6 wingers on this team. And I think that he has value on this team next year, that if they aren't able to trade him this offseason, I should say, that's not the end of the world. I think that's perfectly okay, actually, that, hey, we weren't able to trade Joel Armia this offseason. Teams want to wait maybe as you get closer and closer to the trade deadline. If Armia can play like he did the second half of the season, and I know I'm asking a lot in this situation, hey, you need to play the same way that you played when you were playing your best. Just go ahead and do that, champ, or however you say that in Finnish. I'm not going to try because I don't know how. I understand that is asking a lot. But I do also think that it's not out of the realm of possibility that if he has a hot preseason too, a team might go, I want that. If the Canadiens are looking to shed salary, I can absolutely see him being a piece of a trade at the draft or in free agency. Patrik Laine even, that, hey, Columbus likes dispensaries. No, defensively responsible forwards and who can chip in those goals and give them some depth to their offense, that it isn't just Johnny Hockey and Boone Jenner and the kids. You have other pieces in here that you can striate and spread out your attack a little bit there, that forces teams to game plan instead of just put all of our players on their one good guy. And I realize I'm oversimplifying and I'm just using Columbus as an example because it's on the market here. I absolutely think that Joel Armia has the value there, but I also think he has the value to the Canadiens as well. He's a guy who kills a lot of penalties, and that's important. And for a Canadiens team that struggles on the penalty kill, having a guy who scores shorthanded goals with pretty regular as regular as shorthanded goals can be, I think that he is a key piece. Or I don't mean like a key piece of the core, but in that special teams unit. And I also think as a second power play guy, as a bumper piece, a net front guy, he's got the hands and he's got the awareness and quite frankly, the body size to be a really strong net front guy. If Josh Anderson could learn some of the habits that Joel Armia has when he's playing well, I think Josh Anderson would be much more well received in the Canadiens fandom at this point. More so than he already is. Not to say that he is like an outcast or anything, but that he would have another level to his game to go around with the rest of it. Like if Joel Armia had Josh Anderson's speed, I would be horrified in a good way of things like that. I'm going to give Armia's season I see like a C plus feels mean. I'm going to say a B, like a flat B. First half was not good, not a great preseason. But the second half of the year, Joel Armia, once he got on a line, I believe he was playing with Brendan Gallagher even too, everything kind of clicked for him. And maybe it was Alex Newhook. Either way, the second half of the year is the Armia that I think of when I think of what we want from this team. And I'm going to give him just a flat B on that. Tweet us your ratings at LO_Canadiens, LockedOnCanadiens@gmail.com. We have one more player review to get to in today's show, and we're going to go to one of my former AHL favorites, someone that I talked about too much before I made the show full-time this past year. We're talking about Raphael Harvey-Pinard coming up next. But first, passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it makes it easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit available only to United States customers. We're back. It is the final segment here of Locked On Canadiens, and we're switching gears a little bit to another bottom six forward, to someone who had, I don't want to say a tale of two seasons, but a tale of two actually different seasons here. For those who have followed me on Twitter for a long time now, back when Eyes on the Prize Board of SB Nation and beyond, y'all know that I love Raphael Harvey-Pinard as a player. He came into the Canadiens organization on a one-year AHL deal. It was the COVID-shortened season, the 2020-2021 season under Joel Bouchard. 36 games, 20 points in the AHL. But what I noted is that he was everywhere. Every play that was happening was involved with him there. There was that big line of Teasdale, Paling, and Blandisi, but Raphael Harvey-Pinard on a line with Jesse Ylönen and other players made so much happen. And then the next year, he signed his 2-year entry-level contract with the Canadiens as an overage player. With the Rocket that year, 56 points in 69 nice games, plus 29, 10 points in 15 playoff games. He was electric. He played 4 games with the Canadiens, scored his first NHL goal against Tampa Bay in one of those games where they had half an AHL and ECHL lineup against the Lightning because everybody had COVID in Florida. And it set the table for next year is going to be a big year. Of course, that was the year the Canadiens were also 21-22. They were also abysmal, mind you, but he still got that and had that happen. The next year starts off strong again with the Rocket. His full season with the Rocket, 31 points in 40 games, 16 goals, 15 assists, no points in 2 playoff games. The Rocket offense did not get going against Utica that year. That's not the key part that really caught people's attention. It was that he put up 14 goals and 6 assists in 34 games on one of the worst teams in the NHL, the Canadiens, that year, a team that finished bottom 5. He was everywhere. He came up to the NHL bottom 6 forward, and then he just started scoring goals and getting in the right spots and battling for pucks, doing everything that was reminiscent of Brendan Gallagher in the most complimentary way. And we go, all right, middle 6 forward next year, a guy who looked perfectly at home on Nick Suzuki's wing when Caulfield went out with a shoulder injury, someone who could fit in that top 6, maybe play with Kirby Dach or somebody else. And then this year happened. And he was one of the guys, he is subject to waivers, so they didn't want to waive him and lose him on waivers because teams like a guy like this. He's cheap. He's got a little term on his contract. He got a 2-year extension. Last year was the first year of that extension that he had earned. This year in 45 games, 2 goals, 8 assists. And a lot of that is some luck-based. His shooting percentage, and let's say, my nose is the middle here. the first year he was here, he was all the way to my right, your left, shooting at almost like 25%. That's unsustainable. But we figured, okay, if it regresses down to like 11, 12%, let's say, he's still going to put up a decent amount of points. And then it just kept going to the other side where the luck was not there and that bottom six wasn't generating the way it needed to. And then he was injured. I can't remember if it was a shot blocker. He got tripped up and went into the boards, but he had a high ankle sprain and he missed a good chunk of the season. And you're never quite the same that year after a high ankle sprain. They do take time to come back from, and you lose some of that step in your explosiveness, some of your agility there. And for a guy who is not large, he is a smaller forward, but uses his body to leverage things. Not being able to have that same stance and that ankle to support you in those moments is tough. And it kind of showed that. I think that there's still a lot of potential there. I think he's going to be a perfectly fine bottom six forward for this team this year. But I'm reminded a lot of Charles Hudon's first and second NHL seasons with the Canadiens. He had a couple of call-ups where he put up points, then for whatever reason went back to St. John or Hamilton at the time. Or no, because he was never with, he did play with the Rocket for one season, but could never stick full-time with the team. And then a year where the Canadiens were injured, they needed someone. He came in, filled in that middle six role there, had a very successful season. Everyone's like, finally, this is it. Next season rolls around, and then everything that could go wrong went wrong. Luck's not there. Bounces aren't there. Everything, just wasn't there for Charles Hudon as a player. And this reminds me a lot of that. This staff and I think development team has a little bit more patience to develop and go with that. I think they see a player in Raphael Harvey-Pinard. I know Jean-Francois Houle speaks very highly of him for good reason, too. He got a letter with the Rocket almost immediately after his first season because he was a leader on the ice as a younger player in that league. His season overall, I can't give it really anything except like a C-D because it's such a stark change that, yes, he's not playing with Nick Suzuki and he's not playing with Kirby Dach and stuff, and the team is injured and he's injured. But when he was there, I didn't notice him in the same ways. And some of that might be the ankle injury. He may come out of this offseason recovered from that high ankle sprain and just be raring to go. He might have the best preseason you've ever seen and reestablish himself as, hey, this guy can play. Maybe I'm not saying it's going to be a top six spot, but hey, this is a guy that if we need to promote someone up there in a game because we need a goal and we need someone to, stir it up in front of the net and use that effort to make things happen, Harvey-Pinard can be that guy. I also think that this is probably his best chance at that because he's 25 now. This season is probably going to be, this is what he is. Is he closer to the 14 goals in 34 games guy, or is he the 2 goals in 45 games guy? And if he's somewhere in the middle, that he's the guy that chips you in 15 goals, and I'm saying that as a generous thing, over an 82-game season in a bottom six role at $1.1 million a year, cash out, found money on a lot of different levels. And I also think he constitutes a good development success. He was a late round draft pick, came in on an AHL deal, battled. It was thought that he might go to the ECHL at first, and he stuck with the Rocket. Didn't play a lot of games at first, and then got into the lineup, and then just rose up that. And he did it in the NHL too, and I think he can do that again. But this was a tough year for him. And if he bounces back, the Canadiens' bottom six is immediately that much stronger. For a guy that works hard like him, pretty decent penalty killer, good scoring, knows around the net, battles for pucks, make things happen. He's the right kind of energy you want in your bottom six. Also, remember, tweet us your, player ratings. Leave them in the comments below. LockedOnCanadians@gmail.com, @LO_Canadians as well. That is going to wrap up our show. However, I can't see my likes anymore, but know that I do like you just the way that you are. My co-host is obviously on vacation. I will be back on Monday. We'll do more player reviews. We'll see what kind of news comes out of the weekend. I promise you, we have so much to catch up on. Please make sure you subscribe wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or here on YouTube.com. But until then, folks, have a great weekend, and we will see you all next time.